to prep for, I can win this thing. It's all in here, because everyone's formal wear looks the same. Everyone's swimwear looks the same. We all about do the same thing in talent. It's who's doing it with conviction, and who's selling it, and who's pushing it forward, and who's reading on their shirt, I'm the one, pick me, I'm the winner. And, that was the hardest part, but I was so fortunate to have mentors and friends from the Continental system that like were able to help me do so.
Well, when I first watched you in the first pageant, you were very different in this pageant, and because you were very focused, and I could tell the difference in a major way. You shifted totally. And what else I liked is, and I know that's why the Continental system chose you, is because you weren't that cookie cutter person. That's like you said, a lot of them are doing the same thing in the same kind of format and everything. And you were very different. And that is sometimes the key to what winners, are made of, is that they're different and they do things outside of the box. And that's what I liked about your talent. I watched it. And
thank you.
I thought it was fantastic. I did my research a little bit. I didn't want to dig too much, because when she sent me the format of what she wanted me to ask you, I said, well, I want to change this and change this because I want it to be more relaxed. If it's more relaxed, she had a very structured way.
Right.
She wanted to focus on what I was just talking about, the straight thing and all that. And I thought, no, we're going to talk about the system and your journey in the system. And you're doing perfect. So
Thank you.
I want to say that I like the fact that you were determined, and I could see that from the very get-go this year. Now, number one, how does it feel to be in that room? How does it feel?
I couldn't let my nerves get the best of me. And like a lot of people say, because Continental, one thing is Continental, my favorite system of all time.
Mm-hmm.
They're not contestant friendly for a reason, because this is a competition. We want the best of the best. This is not about you. This is about the brand of Continental. That's right. There's a lot of other competitions that, they give you all the time in the world, and you're sitting there for 6-7 hours watching it. Like Continental is done well under 3 hours, done. Mm-hmm. So it's like boom, boom, boom. So they lit the stress of that and the stress of being on that stage, because for the longest time, Continental was like the only system that was like actually on stage. Now all these other brands are, rebuilding and, going to event centers and getting out of clubs and going to theaters. And I feel like that makes such a huge difference. But Continental is like known for that stage, and it's known for the system that's on a stage. And there's no other stage like that Park West stage. I mean, you're in there with 12 to 1,500 people, jam-packed, screaming and hollering for you. And you can't let the nerves get the best for you. And I was like, that was another thing. I was like, I can't lose, because I literally have over 200 fans and like 65 guests that I personally invited and brought my 65 people. Like when I tell you I spent a lot of money on my package, it was not like what you saw on the stage. It was like, I wanted people there to see it. Like I wanted them to experience greatness. And like my grandfather, which that's a whole other story that I'm going to tap in a little bit on. He's been on a plane twice his entire life, and one of them was to come to Continental. And he's never seen a drag queen. He has no idea what transgender is. So he was like fully educated and learning. And that's what I loved about him, because it's like, how we're raised is typically how we turn out. And that's not in his case. He was, he's like 65, 70 in there. I don't know how old he is. I probably should know. And, he really came from a time of like, if you are not at the freaking altar repenting for your sins every single Sunday, like you're going to burn in hell. So like, don't even get started on like drinking drugs and, being gay. And, my older brother actually does identify as gay. My younger sister identifies as binary, and he loves us. And he is so supportive of every single thing we've done. He's been so supportive of my career as a dancer, me and all my relationships with whoever I'm with. And for him to be like, he didn't come to Continental the first time, and he heard all about the rave from my mom and dad and grandmother. He was like, I got to come watch that. I got to watch you win that thing. And for him to come, it was just such a special moment. So I was like, I can't mess this up. Like, I can't lose in front of all these people, and especially someone that like has never seen a drag queen before and now knows what a drag queen is, because he wanted to see me win Mr. Continental. So it was a big moment. It was huge.
Well, it's fantastic that your family is such a great support system, something that we all need right now. And the fact that you had that, I say this all the time to people. My parents were amazing to me, even though they knew I was gay from get-go. And then when I started transitioning and doing all different kinds of things, they never mentioned anything about that. They were just amazing to me, and I miss them both too. And I think to this day, it's great when you have a support system like you have and like many of us have. And to see family and friends sitting in the audience at your win must feel incredible.
A lot of people go back and they watch the tape of me winning and they're like, your reaction was so different than anyone else's reaction. And they related it to two other people. They said, I've not seen anyone else have that reaction, but Antoine Steele and Sir Valentino. And, everyone else, when they win, they get so excited and they're jumping up and down and they're running all over the place. And we three, when we won, we literally broke down. Like we literally immediately went here. And that's what I love that I studied about the system, is just that moment of when your name was said. I can't tell you how many times on YouTube I've watched like Joey Taylor win, Michael J. Valentine, Antoine Steele, Kalia Valentino, all of them. And it was just, it means so much. I can't even explain, if you've not done a pageant and you're watching this, join the Continental family, because they treat you like family no matter what place you end up, and celebrate your progress and your goals. Because the one thing I love about Continental, they make it a big deal to make the 12, and they make it like you're it if you're in the 5. So celebrate your goals. If you're best non-finalist, celebrate that you were so close to making that 12. Or if you were 6th place, best, non-finalist of the 5, celebrate that. And that's what I've told all these people. That's the problem in pageantry. People lose and they get bitter and they want to go somewhere else. And I'm like, stick with the brand of the system that you believe in and celebrate your success, because life is not about competing against each other. It's about competing against yourself. And did you do your best? And that's what I fully stand by. And I was out there with 18 other boys and I did not compete against anyone but myself. And, I did it.
Wonderful. It's wonderful that you say that. When I was talking to Miss Continental Elite, she actually did the show, and she said,
I love her.
She said something very, very similar to what you just said, is that, you have to be prepared mentally. And she told me, just like you just said, I knew I was going to win. I knew I was going to win. I had put it in my mind I was going to win. And you said the same thing. And this just goes to show you, great minds think alike. And like I said, is in the long run, I never thought I could do this. But then when I start looking at it, I go, I can do that. I can do it. I can't believe it.
Good at it.
Yeah, I can do it. So I think, like you said, is when you put it in your mind, you can do almost anything.
I'm very spiritual. And I listen to a lot of services, and one of my favorite pastors is T.D. Jake and Stephen Furtick, and they spoke together. And one thing that they said that I share with everybody is if you could write it in pencil, you can weld it with steel. And that's so important. If you can envision it and imagine it in your life, I love that. And I'll actually send you a link to it. But the other thing he talked about is he was talking about when he was in the safari, and he talked about how the lion's defense mechanism was roaring, and he put the fear of life in everybody, and the elephant was so big and its defense mechanism was throwing its weight around, and the cheetah could run like the wind and the eagle could soar so high. And he was like, God, what'd you give me? What's my defense mechanism? And God said, I gave you a brain. Mm-hmm. The problem with everyone in life is we think God or the higher power works in a sense of